Shalom. This is Adasabat Saiwan returning with the book of Revelation, and this is chapter 14 called Babylon the Great is Fallen. Is fallen. This is part 1. This is a pretty big chapter, and we're going to see the continuation of the destruction. First, the judgment of Babylon, the whore, and its great destruction. Now, one thing that we're going to realize is that Babylon is being judged even way, way, way back in the past. And we're going to look at some of those scriptures and see what Yahweh says about what he will do or what he has done with its predecessor and what he will do in the future with this whore. So let's get started with the actual scripture, and then we're going to go into the lesson. Verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Alahayam have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill to her double. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh Alahayam who judges her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, what that mighty city! For in 1 hour is your judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys her merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all thyine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that your soul lusted after are departed from you, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from you, and you shall find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which are made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on her, on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, you heaven, and you, holy apostles and prophets, for Alahayam have avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of the harpers and musicians, and of the pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in you. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in you. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in you. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in you. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in you. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of the saints, and of all who were slain upon the earth. Now we've moved one step closer to the destruction of the whore of Babylon, the one world religious system that will take the world by storm. Yes, there will be a declaration letting all the religions know all along you've been serving the same gods. The same gods. So, hey, if you've been serving the same gods all along, now it's all just a matter of putting or coming under this umbrella, put aside our differences, realize that we are the same, and we have always been the same. And now, because you are under this one umbrella, this one religious umbrella, we can make you rich. We can make you prosperous. All right? Wasn't that what was sold to our brethren back in the day of Constantine? Hey, if you want us to stop persecuting you, just become a Christian. So now, what this whore is going to declare is that we were the ones who made you. We're the ones who created the different religions on this earth. It was because of us. Didn't they say that about Christianity? Didn't they not say that about the Roman Catholic Church? Did they not say that about the Anglican Church? All the different religions. It's just the ones that are not affiliated with Christianity that will be the biggest shocker for them when they realize, hey, you're no different than the Christians. You're no different than the Roman Catholics. You're no different than the Anglicans. Because all religions were created by this whore before it was actually called a whore. But the reason why the Most High calls her the whore, because he is painting a picture of this deity, of this pagan, idolatrous, fornicating creature, to let us know it has always been somewhat in the background, manipulating people to worship the sun, the moon, the stars, the beast on the earth, the beast under the earth, the wind, the trees, anything at all, whether it was created by the hands of the person or not. This creature has always been there promoting idolatry. And that's why he calls it the great whore. He also calls her the mother of harlots because when you worship anything or anyone besides Alahayam or instead of Alahayam, you become a harlot. You're called a harlot. And because this creature is called the mother of harlots, it means that she has birthed the harlots on the earth, the other religions. So I'm not speaking this from my opinion. I am speaking this from revelation of Alahayam. He's the one who called her the mother of harlots, the great whore. And this is the reason why he called her this entity by those titles. No other reason. It spawned every religion on this earth. And I just finished a 2-part series concerning the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity. And I touched on Judaism. I touched on a few other religions too. They're all part of it all. Don't let the doctrines fool you. Yes, the doctrines were there to separate us, to keep us separating so that we could not put our heads together and figure this thing out. So if we're fighting against each other, proclaiming that our religion is better than your religion, right? We cannot put our heads together to figure out, hey, what is this anyway? All right? Divided, we fall. All right? And this was the purpose of religion on the earth, to keep us divided so that he can conquer us. Speaking of the Satans. Okay, so let's read on. Paganism will be the religion on the earth. And when I say paganism, I mean the worship of anything and everything except Alahayam. The more debauched and demonic the worship will be, the more this whore will love it and relish in this kind of worship. We're seeing much of this going on right now, but it will only get worse as we have not seen the depth of wickedness that is due to come upon this earth. We're seeing a rise of satanic worship like we have never seen before. These people used to hide in the darkness and their little coves, their little caves, underground layers, what have you. They used to hide and do their rituals. Now everything is coming to the surface because the powers that be that run this world, they're all part of this satanic system. They're all satanic worshippers. So once upon a time, when these satanic worshippers were hiding to do their wicked deeds, their rituals, their sacrifices, it was because the right people were not in place that would give them the permission to do what they're doing. But now, the right people are in place, and so they can come out in full bloom to reveal that they are satanic worshippers. And they're proud about it. They're having their parades. They're doing the worst. But this is all part of the one world system that is coming, because the whore is going to bring all the people, the religious, especially religious people, under its control to basically bring them under the beast system. So we're seeing this happening right now. We're seeing that they're calling for the Bible to be rewritten to suit their narrative, of course. And they're also using artificial intelligence to run services. I kid you not. And they're going to do it with all the religions. And that's what's going to help bring everything under one umbrella. You see, the problem is people are fascinated by technology. You know why? Because people are just basically lazy. They're lazy, and on top of that, they don't believe. All right. I was raised during a period where there wasn't much technology. Televisions were now coming out. We had one radio station, one television station, not compared to cable that you have hundreds and hundreds of stations that you can flick through. This is all intentional to keep us distracted and entertained. All right. But back in the day, when I was growing up, we didn't have this much technology as we have right now. At a touch of a button, we can turn on everything. Your television, your air conditioner, your whatever you have. Touch of a button. I know you can buy uh, technology that you can program it to turn things on and turn things off. Now they want to create the smart home. I remember some years ago, and this was a good few years ago. I would say I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago. About 7 years ago, I was going through. I was somewhere. It doesn't matter where it was, but there was a house set up, and this house, it looked like a normal house, and I thought sitting right there in the middle of um, close to the park, so to speak, I thought it was a bit odd to have it there. But what made it even more unusual, it had a sign on it, and they call it the smart house. I'm like, smart house? What's that all about? So it was an exhibition, and they just wanted to, lure people in to take a look. And of course, I went. So I'm curious. I want to see what this smart house is all about. So basically, it's a house from the time you go up the steps to the front door. Everything about this house is about technology. The house can and will receive your packages by, say, like UPS or one of those shipping companies. If it's a special kind of mail, it can also receive it. It will tell you the date and time, everything of when the package came. You don't need a key to open this house. I think it was just an eyeball. Right? You enter into your house, and from the time you enter in your house, you have this big television screen right by the door, so you can see all the different things that you've missed or who had you know a, attempted to contact you and about the packages and whatnot. So then you step in further, and this was just a tiny little house, but it had all the gadgets and stuff like that. You go to the refrigerator. Apparently, this refrigerator is a smart fridge. And if you're running low on milk, this fridge will tell you you're running low on milk and make a notation for you. All right. Go into the kitchen. This you can program your kitchen to cook you a meal. Oh yeah. All this stuff was in this little house, and the guy was so excited. And I was back in the because I am not good. I don't really care about technology. I was not raised with technology. He was so fascinated, but I was not. And he was just, oh, don't you just love it? I'm like, let me see what else you have. So then he goes to the pet part. Because if you have a pet and you're away for the day. Of course, your pet is gonna need food, it's gonna need water, so you can program the pet, I guess, feeding dish and water dish. You can program it with technology to put food out, because I guess you will put a good amount of food inside a container, and then it would just allot out um, a certain amount of food in the dish, because there was a dish connected to it. So it would just release enough food for your pet to have something to eat, and the same thing with water. And there were a few other things too. Of course, there was a television there that was all smart technology. A lot, and this was a good few years ago. I even want to say more than 7 years ago, maybe 8, 9 years ago. This was way back then, because we didn't hear too much about that kind of technology. And I certainly didn't hear about it until then. So then he said to me, "So what do you think about all of this?" And I'm like, what is the purpose of having a smart house? What is the purpose of me having to use my eyeball to open up my house, to check to see who came to my door? What is the point of all of this? And his reasoning was, well, because you're so busy and you lead such a busy lifestyle, this would help to free you up so that you can do more things. So my next question would be, do more things like what? Because all the things that you're telling me that I'm being freed up from are things that we have done from for ages. Like cooking, shopping, feeding your pets with your own hands. Well, it will just free you up. Meaning, I guess, free you up to do more work in order to afford a house like that. Right? Because if you're too lazy to cook a meal and you just want a machine to make your meals, then I call that lazy. Because the joy of cooking is the finished product. Right? You take great pleasure in eating your food because you prepared it. So I was not impressed, but he was so happy. You could tell he was just over the moon with that house. I said, well, it's definitely not for me, because I love cooking. I love looking in my fridge to see whether I'm low on milk or butter or eggs or what have you. I like to do those things myself. It takes my brain off doing the work for the man. You know who I'm talking about, because you're working for the man. And if your brain is always working for the man, when are you going to get a break? All right. So I like doing those things because it takes your mind off your work, your busy schedule at work. It gives you something to keep you grounded, and the reason why you want to work. Because if all you're doing is working and you're not taking pleasure in living, then what's the point? What is the point? So that set the stage for even now as we're living, and we're seeing all these things coming to pass, because the smart house is going to be the thing of the future for those who are remaining on the earth. Speaking of the Gentiles and even the northern kingdom, because they're going to be subject to this new world order, which is a technology based empire, which is the number 7. And it's up to them to choose whether they're going to serve the Most High or serve under this beast. All right? But this is what is coming. And I'm here to warn you, do not be fascinated with technology. It is only there to enslave you further, to remove all of your freedoms, all right? To corrupt you so that you do not make it into the kingdom. And this is speaking to the southern kingdom first, the northern kingdom, and even the Gentiles, because some of them are going to come in with us. All right? Do not be fascinated so much so that you allow it to take over and rule your life. Let Alahayam be the one to control and rule your life. And here's another thing that crossed my mind. People that love technology will not love what Alahayam has waiting for us. It will be too simple. All right? Because we're talking about a place that has no electricity, that has no technology. Who's going to love that? If you love technology and all the delicacies that it offers, who's going to love what Alahayam has waiting for us? Okay. So reading on, and thankfully, we will not have to see the wickedness coming. But what we're witnessing today is far beyond our imagination when it comes to how much more wicked the minds of mankind can become. But first, Alahayam will reveal to us more about the wickedness of this entity, her many spawns that have caused many of our brethren to be trapped in her religions. If there's any doubt about this, then return to the judgments of the seven assemblies. Only two are not reprimanded by Hamashiach. They're cautioned, but they were not reprimanded. The five assemblies that are warned are told to repent and return to the true worship of Alahayam. Oh, it's supposed to be a full stop there. Let me reread that. The five assemblies that are warned are told to repent and return to the true worship of Alahayam. In previous studies, we see that the whore of Babylon will be tolerated by the beast empire, number 8. That's the last empire. And so Alahayam, and soon Alahayam will cause this beast empire to destroy her. Now let's start with Revelation chapter 14, revised verse 1 and 2. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. That's the glory of Alahayam. The angels, they have the glory of Alahayam. Satan and the Satans and the other fallen angels, they don't have the glory of Alahayam because it was taken away from them. They still retain some power, but they do not have his glory. Verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now the destruction of this whore called Babylon, or confusion, that's what Babylon means, was prophesied through two prophets, Yeshaiah and Jeremiah, and that's Isaiah and Jeremiah, and now Yohanan. This is the way in which Alahayam confirms his prophecies to us, especially today, regarding the end times. Although Alahayam sent these prophecies as judgments against Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, we know that these judgments are twofold in their events. Nebuchadnezzar was conquered by the Medes, and yet today, this system with its name being Babylon has risen up with the same evil spirit / Satan of conquering and controlling through rebellion and confusion. And it is this Babylonian religious system that will be judged by the same judgment of Alahayam, set against its namesake empire generations ago. So the Babylonian religious system is no different than the Babylonian empire that we read about when King Nebuchadnezzar was its king. All right, it's no different. So the judgment that was sent against Nebuchadnezzar and his empire, Babylon, is the same judgments that will come against this Babylonian system called the whore of Babylon. All right? Now, these Satans recycle themselves to possess whatever entities they spawn to bring about mass control, mass corruption, and subsequently mass destruction. So, this whore has a Satan. Okay? It has a Satan. And it was the Satan that possessed the Roman Empire, number 4, because the Roman Empire, number 4, it kind of somewhat fell apart and became the Roman Catholic Church. But at the same time, it spawned the last 3 empires. The last 3 empires. Empire number 6, which we know is the UN. Empire number 7 is the NWO, the technology-based empire, and technology number 8, which is the NWO reform, because the NWO, the New World Order, the technology-based one, it was devastated by the great earthquake. But it went underground. It was not destroyed. It was just devastated. No more technology. And you're going to see proof that there's no more technology after the 6th seal, after the great earthquake. Alahayam used the great earthquake to flatten them, to destroy all technology on the earth, including electricity. Okay? So let's look at Yesha'oyah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 21, verse 6. For thus had Yahweh said unto me, Go, set a watchman, let him declare what he sees. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a chariot of asses, and a chariot of camels. And he hearkened diligently with much heed, and he cried, A lion! My Adawan, I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am set in my ward whole nights. And behold, here comes a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods he has broken to the ground. So that declaration, Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Yes, it was intended for Nebuchadnezzar and his empire, but it is also intended for the future whore of Babylon that is coming. When I say it is coming, it has always been here, but it calls itself the Roman Catholic Church. And when it causes all religions to come under its control, then it will be declared as Babylon, the great city. All right? Alahayam commanded that the Medes besieged Babylon, which we know that Babylon was conquered by them. But notice that Babylon was called by its animal, which is a lion. And the same phrasing, Babylon is fallen, is used here as well. So in verse 8, we see here in Yesha'oyah chapter 21, verse 8, and he cried, A lion. Who is that lion? Babylon. Babylon, the empire, is called the lion. This is what Danayah saw in his vision. He saw the 3 animals, and then the 4th was so grotesque that he couldn't describe it. So therefore, the very same way the first Babylon had fallen, so will this whore will also fall, but never to arise again. Alahayam has set his judgment against this whore a long time ago. And although his initial prophecy against Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled, he will once again set this judgment against this whore, and this prophecy will be completed. So it's a twofold prophecy. First part was meant for Babylon the empire, and the second part is going to be Babylon the whore. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 1. Thus said Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that will fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. For Yashraal has not been forsaken, nor Yahweh of his Alahayam of Yahweh. So Yashraal speaking of the northern kingdom, and Yahweh is speaking of the southern kingdom. And that is Alahayam, Yahweh, Sabaoth, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Yashraal. Verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. So even way back then, Alahayam was warning his people to come out of the midst of Babylon. All right? Yes, there were captives because of their rebellion. But most importantly, what he wants us to do and wants us to know, when you are fleeing out of the midst of Babylon, which is confusion based on religion, he wants us to come out of religions. Okay? This whole system that we're living under is a Babylonian system, a system of confusion. Just look around you, you see it for yourself. It is all around us. People are confused about their own selves. They don't know what to think anymore. All right? And the Babylonian system plays a part in this confusion. Because a lot of these people that are confused about themselves, about what they believe and what they stand for, is because they don't believe in Alahayam. And the same goes for our people, Yashraal, the northern kingdom. Well, we're going to put them on the side for a minute, but definitely the southern kingdom, because we're the ones that have been awakened to our true identity. And although we are awakened, or many of us claim that they are awakened, they're still calling on pagan gods and they're still worshiping like pagans. All right? They're still calling on the names of pagan gods. They're calling on Lord, they're calling on God, they're calling on Jesus, they're calling on Christ. Those are pagan gods. Go look at my last study. And the root of these gods is paganism. All right? So when he is telling us, even from way back then, he's telling our forefathers, come out of the midst of Babylon, flee from her. Meaning, return to true worship. Return to true worship. The worship of Alahayam. Keeping his Shabbat. Keeping his holy days on the days that he has designated. There's still many of our brethren that are looking to the fakers in our land. and looking to their holidays, their unholy days, and celebrating their unholy days. That's what they're doing. Speaking their language, calling him Elohim. Now, if you think that those people in our land are fakers, what makes you think that the language isn't fake too? What makes you think that the holidays, the dates, the feast day that they celebrate aren't fake too? But many of our people are claiming, well, they're the fake people, but everything else is real. So I'm going to worship like these heathens in our land. All right? So you cannot be awakened if you think that way, because they've kept us in the dark for so long about our true identity, and they have this thing planned to perfection. If they wake up, we can still keep them on their pagan worship if they think that the people in their land are supposed to be them, and the language that they're speaking is theirs, and the feast days that they're keeping are theirs also. It will still keep them at least on the pagan worship. And then there's some of our people that are still trapped in Christianity in all its different denominations, right? He knows my heart when I say Christ. He knows my heart when I say Jesus. I'll just kind of differentiate it and call him Jesus of Nazareth. That should make it clear. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. His name was never Jesus. His name sorry. His name is, it's not was because he still lives. His name is Yahawasha O Hamashiach. All right. You can't be awakened and still call him by pagan titles and pagan names. Can't be awakened. You're fooling yourself. Verse 7. Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. No, all that Babylon has done and will do, Alahayam, Yahweh, has allowed it. Why? Because he's just going to slough off the pagan worshippers, the ones that he already knows are not his. He already knows who belongs to him, from the 12 tribes and the Gentiles. He already knows who belongs to him. He already knows whose hearts are set on him. But many people, they will want to worship idols, the works of their hands. So what he has done, okay, I'm going to make you mad. I'm going to make you go crazy with pagan worship. You're going to be so crazy that you're going to completely turn away from me, which is what I want you to do, because I'm not interested in you. And then I will destroy you after. Did he not do that with the Egyptians? Did he not do that with Pharaoh? Did he not harden Pharaoh's heart so that he can destroy him? Did he not say he gave the nations, the sun, the moon, and the stars to worship, to draw them away from him? Who he loves, he draws to himself. And who he does not love, he repels them. And he gives them the creation to worship. So even our brethren that are worshiping idols, that is the work of Alahayam, because he already knows what's in their hearts. Our people has been this way for generations, so this is nothing surprising to him. Our forefathers, when they left Goshen, they came out of Matzarayam, but they brought Matzarayam with them. all the pagan, idolatrous idols, worship, everything they brought with them. And it's the same thing with our brethren today. We've been brainwashed to worship the idols of our slave masters, and many, many of our people are still brainwashed to worship the idols of our slave masters. And that's going to cause people to be drunk, be in a stupor. And that wine is very intoxicating because the wine is are the doctrines, the things that people hold dear to: rapture, the cross, worshiping the cross, all these different things that people hold dear to. Some may even go one step further and shed blood. Blood is also a form of wine, and this whore loves blood because the blood of the innocent empowers her to do the wickedness on this earth. And even the blood of animals, because I know that there's some brethren of ours that want to go back to killing animals as sacrifices. And I'm thinking, are you crazy? We don't have a temple. We don't have a priesthood. We don't have a high priest. We have nothing here on the earth. We do have a high priest in heaven. His name is Hamashiach. His title is Hamashiach. And he's the temple not made with hands. But we need a place that is recorded with the name of Yahweh recorded there, because he's the one who established where his temple will be set up. And he already established a place. It's called Yerushalayim in our land. And right now, that land is, the Gentiles are walking in our land. So you trying to do sacrifices without all the elements that makes it pure, you're doing it unto the devil. So you're shedding blood to the devil. It's called bloodletting. And this whore loves it. The Satans love it because it brings you under their control and it keeps you under deception. I know of people that do it. I know it. I know them. They even show videos of it. Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain? If so, may be healed. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Verse 10, Yahweh has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Sayawan the work of Yahweh Alahayam, our Alahayam. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahweh hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar went in and destroyed his temple. But let me just say this. He was allowed to go in and destroy it. Alahayam destroyed his own temple. He was the one who sent the angels to retrieve his precious articles and break down the corners. And then Nebuchadnezzar came and did the rest. But regardless of the fact, Nebuchadnezzar had no right going in to try to destroy, or he didn't try, he did it, to destroy the temple of Alahayam. So he's taking vengeance even for his temple that Nebuchadnezzar did. All right. Nebuchadnezzar was a tool used by Alahayam to bring correction to his people. And Nebuchadnezzar overstepped a lot of those boundaries that he had. Like, that Alahayam laid around him. All right. And now he is sending his